These devices, I'm showing in this photo an electric version of one. And these work, similar to tank storage types where when you're in a shower or you're at the sink and you're calling for hot water, water flows through the device. Now, the way these work is that flow of water triggers a flow switch. And when that flow switch activates, it tells the water heater, hey, someone's in the shower or at a faucet, they want hot water, so it's time to heat. So once that flow of water starts, the heating of that water proceeds, and then that hot water is delivered. And all the while, these hot water heaters are monitoring the inlet and outlet temperatures, they're monitoring the flow sensors. And kind of what I've seen on these is that depending on how they're constructed, depending on the devices that are on board, there are multiple devices that can fail, and a single point failure mode, meaning if one of these devices fails, it can result in a thermal runaway, meaning if a thermal runaway is when the heat does not turn off when it should. So either when the water has stopped flowing, when you've stopped calling for water, or when there's been a blockage of some sort and the water heater should turn off but doesn't. So an example is, I was looking at a water heater where the flow switch failed in a state that would lead the water heater to believe that the water was still flowing when it clearly wasn't. So as soon as the water heater was energized, the heaters came on. Now, what was interesting about this one was it didn't result in a failure of the water heater, but it did burst PEX that was located downstream of the water heater. And so the failure may not be immediately obvious that it was the water heater. They have many control devices on them. This one I'm showing is electric, but there's also gas. There's some combination electric gas. There's tons of configurations out there. One constant is that they all have the flow switch. Most of them have thermostats, which are thermal protection. They're kind of like a safety redundancy. There's heater relays, which tell the heaters when to come on. There's some triacs on some of them. Triacs are like electrical relays. And then there's thermistors, which simply monitor temperatures. And these all feed into a control board, which kind of has a micro on it, which interprets all the inputs and controls some outputs. And again, depending on how much the manufacturer has invested in redundancy or kind of thought through the various failures of the water heater, you can get single point failures or sometimes even combinations of failures together that can result in thermal runaways. I've seen it on multiple water heaters. I think the takeaway is that each of these investigations is unique. Since there's so many constructions, I haven't really seen any, trends of failures on these. There's one related to flow sensors, but other than that, it's kind of an individual puzzle that you have to go through for each one. You have to investigate all the devices, make sure they're functioning appropriately, and just sort of walk through it. I think for me, at least, these are the funnest to investigate because they are like a, puzzle that you have to find the answer to.